Hi guys, so we are going to do this hexagon today, and we are going to be using puff stitches and simple double crochets to fill in the space between the puff stitches. And this puff stitch has a chain one space in between, right? So except for the last line, we'll be doing the puff stitches all the way around for the 6 corners, right? Okay. I am using the wool from Ganga Acro Wools called Desire. Okay, you can see the shade lot number, which is DSR019, right? And its color is basically forest green that they say. This is a medium 4 yarn, and it requires a 6.5 mm hook. It's 100% acrylic yarn, right? Okay, so I'm going to be using a 6 mm hook because I'm using these hexagons to make a bag, and when I used the 6.5 mm hook, it seemed a little loose, which did not sit well with me, so that is why I brought down half an mm. Okay, so you can see I've made 2 of my hexagons, and I'm still left off with this much yarn. So you can see that's quite pretty much. This is pretty good for your, it's affordable. Okay, now we can start off with chain 4. If you want, you can make a basic slip knot. Chain 4, and go into that first stitch and slip stitch in between to make that circle, right? Personally, I don't prefer this because I like to keep the center really tight like this. So what I do is I use the magic ring because that keeps it tighter. Okay, so what you do is you hold the yarn and take it round once, and then put it through the back of the previous yarn, and you insert your hook from the second one. Now you've got a loop there, and you chain 1, and there you have it, you have your magic ring. Okay, so now we are going to make 6 puff stitches with 1 chain space in between. So I'm going to be making 6 puff stitches, and draw through all except one, and I'm going to close that, and that's my first puff stitch. As you can see, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to make my second puff stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of them except the last one, of course. And I have 2 loops here, and I'm going to close it. I have 2 puff stitches now, and I'm going to chain 1 once again. I'm going to repeat that. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of them and yarn over and pull through the 2 and chain 1 again. So we have 3 puff stitches now with 3 chain 1s. We need to do 3 more. 1, 2 and 3, yarn over, pull through and pull through 2 and then chain 1. That's 4 for us. Okay, yarn over, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yarn over and pull through all of them. Right, and yarn over and close it and chain 1. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 puff stitches. I'm going to make 1 more. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and chain 1. Now we have done our 6 puff stitches and chain 1s. We are going to pull this tail really tight so that this closes up nicely, and go on top of that first puff stitch, and see, this is the first one, and you go on top of it and make a slip stitch to complete the round. So now we have completed our first round. We'll start off with the second round. This is the first round, this is the second round, and then this, if you can see, we have made 2 puff stitches in that chain space. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, 12 puff stitches in the second round. So what are we gonna do is keep it tight. We'll be sewing it in, we'll be weaving it in at the end so that it doesn't move. Okay, so I'm going to go and slip stitch into that chain space and then chain 2. This is how we start off with all our rounds. Slip stitch into the chain space and chain 2. Okay, and then we make our puff 1, 2, 3, pull through, close it, chain 1 again, and make another puff stitch in that same chain space. Here we go. Once that's done, you make another chain 1 and then go to the next chain space that we had made in the previous round. So we're going to go into that next chain space and we're going to make again a puff stitch close it, chain 1 and another puff stitch in that same chain space again. 1, 2, 3, close it and chain 1. So that's pretty repetitive up until now. We go again in the next chain space and make a puff stitch and chain 1 and make another puff stitch in that same chain space. Okay, I think I'm stuck a little. Okay, that's done. Right? Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 puff stitches, and we are still left with 3 chain spaces. Okay, so chain 1 and go to the next chain space and puff stitch again. Close it and puff stitch again. Close it and then chain 1. Okay, 2 more times and then we'll be completing this round. Another puff stitch in this chain space. Chain 1, and for the last chain space that we have, puff stitch, chain 1 and puff stitch. Don't forget the chain 1 after that. Okay, now we are going to go again on top of that first puff stitch, which is over here. We're going to go in and we are going to make a slip stitch on top of it, and that gives you your second round. Don't worry about the tension because we're going to block the hexagons once it's done. It's always good blocking your projects when you're doing this. Blocking is an integral part and it helps you shape and keep consistency in your projects. Okay, now we're going to start off with the third round. You see this is the first, you see this is the second, you see that this is the third round, and you can see that the third round has these double crochets in between the 2 puff stitches here. Okay, so from now on we're going to make the puff stitches and then we're going to make the double crochets to increase the size of our hexagon. Okay, so just like we are supposed to do, we are going to go into the next chain space and slip stitch and chain 2 to start off. Okay, so we start off with a puff stitch, okay, because that makes it easier. We're going to make the puff stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 and chain 1 space for this one, and again a puff stitch. We'll keep our puff stitches aligned from now on. Okay, now we don't have to chain 1 after doing the puff stitch from this round. We will only make chain 1 space when we are making the puff stitches in this case. Okay, so now we are going to go into the top of the next puff stitch. You see this puff stitch, you see the stitch here, this one. You're going to yarn over and you're going to insert your hook on top of that stitch, of that puff stitch. You're going to pull through and you're going to make your first double crochet there, right? And then you're going to make the second double crochet in the chain 1 space, and you're going to make the next double crochet in on top of the next puff stitch. So you got 2 puff stitches in the chain space, puff stitch, a chain 1, a puff stitch, then a double crochet on top of 1 puff stitch, a double crochet in the chain 1 space, and a double crochet on top of the puff stitch. Okay, next we are going to do the puff stitch once again, and chain 1 and make another puff stitch over here. Again, we are not going to make a chain 1 space after the puff stitch. Again, we are going to go on top of this puff stitch, insert our hook there. You can see I have inserted the hook on top of the puff stitch here, right? I'm going to pull through. I'm sorry, I did not yarn over. I'm going to pull through, I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to pull through 2, making the double crochet. Alright, I'm going to make the next double crochet in that chain 1 space and another double crochet on top of that puff stitch. Okay, and we continue doing that. The puff stitch, a chain 1, a puff stitch, and then 3 double crochets in the next 3 stitches. And again a puff stitch, chain 1, puff stitch, and 3 double crochets. A puff stitch, chain 1, and another puff stitch, okay, so you get the hang of it. I'll see you at the end of the round, and after that we'll be continuing with the rest of the hexagon in part 2. Happy crocheting, guys, and happy International Crochet Day. Love you guys.